What is
Howdy.
that, folks?
Howdy, partner.
Hiya. How
The boys are back.
boy back? Welcome, folks. Welcome. This is the Battle Bros podcast. My name is Mac. This is Alamo. How the hell are you doing? Happy New Year. Happy 2026. It's been a minute since we've seen you guys. Glad to have you with us. Hopefully, your new year off the ground, running, going, and not sucking so bad. So,
Indeed.
um,
Here's to your 2026 being amazeballs. Yeah.
exactly. How you doing, man?
Doing all right. Got some stuff going on in the background, but tis what it is.
Yeah.
Life is life.
Yeah, heard that. So, again, hopefully everybody had a nice Christmas break, New Year's, all that good stuff. So, we actually took an extra week off because of some scheduling conflicts for this guy over here with work stuff, which is not a big deal. Got to be flexible. Semper Gumby. But yeah, so one of the cool things we got to do is we went on a camping trip. It was awesome.
Yeah.
By the
Mhm.
way, hey, ding dong, freaking make a note, send those pictures to the group chat, you twat.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Anyway.
it was the two of us, and then it ended up being four of us all together. Our good friends Robert and Brian. Brian, you've seen on the show before. Once he was on the show as a guest host. But yeah, so we ended up going up to the campground up in Hopkins Prairie up in Ocala National Forest. It was awesome. The only thing that kind of sucked was it rained for a couple hours and we were under a makeshift hooch. Just
Mhm.
kind of sharing in the not misery, but just kind of like the communal freaking just kind of like suckiness of the moment. Wasn't bad. I mean, it could have been worse. We could have been getting all kind of wet and shit. So
I mean, we
it
did
wasn't
have one of those little the fuck do you call those things again? The little
sterno
sterno burner. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
burner. Yeah.
And weirdly enough, that thing gave off enough heat to keep us a little warmer under that.
It was surprisingly effective.
Rather surprisingly, actually.
Yeah, we made it. We shout out and props go to Brian because he brought a tarp because I mentioned the R word, rain, and he was like, So he went and got a tarp, and we ended up kind of putting it up and making like a makeshift hooch that we were chilling out in, which did the job very, very well. We stayed pretty
Very well.
dry. And then having the sterno burner there, we're all just kind of sitting there like staring at a little sterno flame for like 2 hours while it was raining and stuff. We were hoping to see the meteor shower that night. And I remember I told you, I was like, hey man, just wake me up at like 1:00. You never woke me up because apparently you stuck your head out of your truck and it looked like pea soup outside. You're like, yeah,
Yep.
fuck this. I'm gonna go back to bed.
Yep, sure did. I got up. I was like, I was all right. Let's go chill. Oh, fog. Fuck it.
So then I got up at 3 from my tent and just kind of unzipped the tent and stuck my head out. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm going back. So it's just rolled back over, went back to sleep. But man, it was awesome.
It was just one of them evenings, man.
Yeah.
One of them evenings.
But you know what? It was nice, dude. Like everything was pretty well thought out. The only other issue was just a couple people, had to check for ticks and didn't do that, but we should have. And yeah, we'll do that next time. We'll have some tick repellent.
Yeah, definitely. Because let's just say one of those people ended up having one.
2 guys.
But
we're not gonna name names.
Yeah. Didn't find out until home they were, which was kind of yeah.
It's all good. Hey honey, can you check in my gooch and my stuff for my balloon knot for a tick?
Mm-hmm. Remember, folks, pull away from the direction of the pincers that go in.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just Nice little tweezer. Don't use alcohol or any of that other stuff. It causes them to regurgitate. It's not good for you. Probably makes the infection way worse too.
But dude, I mean, great spot though. It was awesome.
Yes.
Again, shout out to everybody for Robert and Brian for going with us. That was awesome. We need to kind of do. We've already talked about maybe doing that once a month or so. in,
Yeah.
like, cooler months.
Making it like a regular thing. Yeah.
Yeah. In the cooler months, so it's not like super balls hot and all that kind of garbage. So
Yeah, exactly.
But and then having oatmeal and coffee in the morning was that was clutch. Jesus, that was awesome. That little cook stove that
Yeah.
Brian brought.
Yes, sir, Bob. And that thing cooked, dude.
It did good. Yeah, it did
cooked
good.
real good.
I mean, we didn't go glamping by any stretch of the imagination, but we brought enough stuff to make ourselves comfortable. Now we're not trying to be like, back in the army miserable. Not doing that. But it was a good time.
Yeah, no, of course not.
So it was beautiful up there. I think one of my favorite things was the fact that my cell phone stopped working. I'm like, all right, I'm good with that. I am off the grid, literally.
Yes, sir.
So, but anyway, told you that story because that kind of has some bearing on what we're talking about tonight. If you haven't already looked at the title, we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's cover some news stories real quick before we get into it. So we found a couple of news stories. So I'm gonna do the first one about the Dragoons first, and then we'll talk about the other one.
Sure.
So this kind of caught my eye. This was on starsandstripes.com because second Cavalry Regiment, which is actually this guy's old unit over in Vilsic, they have announced that they are going to be doing a 10-point plan to ease, quote, what they call senseless stress 2 months after a probe was announced. So this is in Grafenwöhr. U.S. Army's 2nd Cavalry Regiment has unveiled a plan to reduce stress, improve trust, and better provide care for its troops months after several soldiers and their families came forward with allegations of toxic leadership and a dysfunctional culture in the Germany-based striker units. The regiment posted a 10-point plan to the 2nd Cavalry Regiment's Facebook page on December 22nd to fix the problem of senseless stress and improve readiness, predictability, trust, and showing better care for its soldiers, according to the post. The announcement prohibits work-related text during off hours, requires advanced notification of training schedules, and protects weekends and off time. Now, I wasn't on active duty other than like a deployment workup, so that kind of seems like that makes a lot of sense, and that should kind of already be a thing. But apparently, if they're having a probe and they're having like this plan to rectify the situation, that's obviously not the case. So it's like,
I don't know. Myself personally, when I was there, I didn't complain. It was just, but then again,
you were also a single guy too.
I was, but I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem too bad, even still.
It also orders leaders to be more involved in the lives of their troops, attend professional development training to better address mental health concerns, and review and act on complaints. The plan was released 3 months after complaints from soldiers and spouses spilled onto social media. In a subsequent report in Stars and Stripes, 3 soldiers and 2 spouses described poor morale in the regiment due to unnecessarily long work hours and toxic leadership. The regiment has not commented on what prompted the plan. Of course not. 3 equal opportunity complaints filed with V-Corps Inspector General were provided to Stars and Stripes. The complaints reported instances of being sent to the field for an extended period of time during a documented health crisis, bullying, discrimination, and retaliation for seeking mental health support. They included a complaint by one of the soldiers Stars and Stripes interviewed for its story and 2 others from soldiers who declined to comment. Okay, so like if you're getting on somebody's ass about mental health, like as long as you're not abusing that, like I would think that would just kind of make sense. It's like in the day and age of like where everybody's advocating for taking better care of yourself, you're going to bully somebody about practicing better mental health. Like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. It's like that's kind of a dumb dick move on that.
Just
part.
a little bit. Just a little bit.
So, the plan bans out of work texting between the hours of 6 p.m. and 5 a.m. except for an emergency. Weekend work is also prohibited unless approved by the regimental commander and adequate pre-planned compensation is provided. Training calendars will be posted 6 weeks out, and concerns presented by soldiers and their families through interactive customer evaluations, ICE, command climate surveys, and family channels will be reviewed and acted upon immediately. So yeah, you would think, like, I don't know, you would think that those shouldn't really be a thing. Like, we've talked enough about like toxicity and leadership and all that kind of stuff. You would think
Yeah.
we shouldn't still be having these issues, but I don't know.
I think it's going to continue to be a thing no matter what. You know, it is what it is.
I think it
Military
kinda,
be what the military be.
so I kind of had this thought when I was reading this article. It seems like it, to, in my opinion, and it's strictly my opinion. I didn't read this anywhere. No one's putting these words in my mouth. In my opinion, it kind of seems like maybe like the remnant of our generation, guys that might have been in GWAT. They're kind of older, saltier dudes, and they have that, suck
Used
it
to
up,
that
drive.
higher op tempo.
Yeah, but that, and just also the whole like, hey, suck it up, drive on, drink water, all that kind of shit. Coming in with a newer, younger generation of soldiers where it's like, and it's just they don't, it's like Gen X and millennials versus Gen 8 or whatever, just completely different mindsets and shit. So it's that cultural clash, that that dichotomy there. So I think that might be part of it. Just a thought.
The dichotomy.
Yeah. It's my SAT word. Write it down. Dichotomy. Jesus Christ, that sounded good. Good push, dude.
Yeah. Came out of nowhere, really. I wasn't expecting it.
So the other article that we have, I'm going to close that tab. The other article that we have was something that I found recently, and this is from CBS News. And it says, the title of the article says, after Maduro capture, bipartisan bill aims to make it a crime to share information about U.S. Special Forces. So this was posted earlier this week. This was
As it very well should be.
You'd think so. January 15th of this year. So a bipartisan bill seeks to make it a crime to publicly share identifying information about special operations forces with the intent of threatening, intimidating, or inciting violence against them. Republican Senator Ted Budd of North Carolina and Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire are introducing the bill, first shared with CBS News in the upper chamber Thursday. The bill is titled the Special Operator Protection Act. The move comes after a journalist shared a photo and brief biography of a military officer who he said was the commander of the elite Army Delta Force, which carried out the operation earlier this month to capture former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Seth Harp, an Army veteran turned journalist who has been highly critical of special forces, said his X account was locked until he deleted certain posts. The legislation from Budd and Shaheen aims to protect special forces, other Department of Defense personnel who conduct sensitive missions, and federal law enforcement officers who support special forces, as well as their immediate family members. It would prohibit publicly sharing identifying information of these service members, including their name, photo, or image of their home in connection with their employer, birth date, social security number, home address, phone numbers, personal email, and biometric data. Again, that seems like it would be kind of a common sense thing, but again, it's 2026. We haven't seen common sense in a few years. So I read this.
We haven't seen common sense in approximately 6 years.
It reminded me of a joke that Robin Williams did where they were talking about like the Pentagon briefings during like Iraq and stuff. Like, so what they've done is publicly approve the secret plan to assassinate Saddam Hussein. I wonder if he knows. It's like, it's like, we don't. I understand oversight. I understand all that kind of stuff. You know, people have a right to know, but just sometimes like we really shouldn't. Like don't they have that kind of same mentality for like police officers nowadays, don't they? Like they're encouraged not to put their names on Facebook or like change your name so it's a little bit harder to find unless you're friends
Mhm.
with people and the spouses especially. Isn't that why I believe isn't that why your wife like changed the name on her social media profile at one
Yes,
point?
and she's
Because
not been able to figure out how to change it back since.
really?
Yep. Has not been able to figure out how to put it back since.
Interesting. So
Interesting indeed.
yeah, so I'm curious to see what becomes of that. And it's kind of interesting to see that there's actually, people on both sides of the aisle. You got a Republican and a Democratic senator are introducing this bill jointly. So it's like, okay, like in a weird way, the system does kind of work because we're coming together to solve what people perceive as a problem. So it's like, all right, cool. So
Mhm, 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 mhm.
anyway, that's all I got for that. So that's the news. Good night, good news. Um, Okay, so the reason I mentioned the camping trip earlier, this has to do with our topic tonight. So this is episode 120, 120 of the Battle Bros podcast, and it is entitled Family. So the idea for this kind of came up when we were talking, just kind of sitting there under that makeshift hooch in the rain, in the cold, watching a sterno flame burn. Um, how like the four of us, although we're Army vets, all four of us, Brian, Robert, Alamo, and myself, um, I don't think you had met Robert at that particular point in time. Like that was your first time meeting him, Alamo?
That was my first time meeting him.
You've met Brian a couple times before,
Yeah.
and he was
Well,
on
I
the show.
think I think once, and mainly on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the show and all that good stuff. So, but it's funny how like the sense of family kind of, how that has a different meaning for folks in like public service jobs, like the military, first responders, that kind of stuff. So, before we get further into this topic, I do have a few notes on this. So, we're going to give a couple of definitions real quick. So, talking about family, the two definitions I have for family: a group of one or two parents and their child or children living together as a unit. The other definition is all the descendants of a common ancestor. And that kind of fit when I was like, it kind of doesn't. So I'm going to look for something else. And then I found the membership. What the hell? The definition for the word tribe. And this was kind of more along the lines of what I was looking for. So the definition for tribe is a social division in a traditional society consisting of families or communities linked by social, economic, religious, or blood ties with a common culture and dialect, typically having a recognized leader. Okay. So even though we are all family in our own right. We have our own families. But it's funny, like I thought about this because we ended up calling each other brother and stuff, and I think that's just kind of slang term for like the GWAT generation. We say brother to anybody that we know that has served or was in our unit or whatnot. Like I go back to thinking, okay, I have a younger brother who I've known my whole life. Obviously, he's 2.5 years younger than me. I'm 41. He will be 39 this year. Yeah. So, and I have my older brother who has he's passed. He would have been 50 this year in October. Um so those are my obviously my blood brothers. That's my blood family and all that kind of stuff. But to me, like I have kind of slightly different degrees of family. Like I have family like my one of my good friends from high school, Kevin. We've known each other since ninth grade homeroom. We've known each other since 98. I consider him like my brother. Our good friend Amelia, she's like my sister. I've known her since 90. 5 when we were in middle school together. So we were going on 30 years of knowing each other. And it's like, she'd be a little mad at me for saying that out loud. And I'm sorry, sis, I love you, but we're older. It's okay. We're older. But like, I consider them like an extended form of family. You know, my daughter's mother, even though we're not together anymore, like I'm still close with some members of her family. Her grandmother, my daughter's great grandmother, you know, I still see her a couple times a week. If she needs help running errands or something, yeah, I kind of help out with that when I can, when I need to, all that kind of stuff. But then you have guys like you, like Brian. You know, I didn't serve with Robert, but like I still consider him like a brother because of the fact that we're very similar minded. We have, you know, similar views on things. And that's kind of why I threw in the definition for the word tribe, because it's kind of like it's something we were thrown into. You know, we signed up, we joined willingly, and like you just kind of become friends with it. It's like I still have, you know, some of the friends that I went to, some of the guys I went to basic training with, I'm still friends with them to this day. One of them still in the same unit that I was in. He's in 2nd Battalion, 124th. Another one of my one of the guys that I went to basic with, he's now an officer. He's a captain. One of the guys transferred over to the Coast Guard, my friend Evandro. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, man. Like, you know, you have just the family, how it's like a loose term. We don't really think about it too much, but like if you think about it, it's not really, it's a lot more complex than it seems at the surface. Like if you start going and digging into it, like it gets pretty broad and diverse and stuff. So what do you got on this there, bud?
I mean, I agree with you 100%. Honestly, and like you know, obviously I've got my buddies that are, you know, that were served in the units served in the unit with me. You know, I've got a couple of high school buddies. I've got, you know, and I kind of, the way I see it, like, you know, you know, because you've known me for freaking 25 years, like this year. Like,
Can I just say something on that?
Sep.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy, ain't it?
That's a good chunk for our life, dude. Like, good God.
Yeah. But you know my story about how my dad was never really there, right? So for me, you know, older brother figures, people like that ended up being kind of like a substitute for what I didn't really have.
Yeah.
So I kind of adopted brother figures from every walk of life, whether they felt like a younger brother to me or an older brother like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that.
So the dynamic for me ended up being very, you know, I'm not going to say very different, but fairly different enough where
diverse.
I guess you could say diverse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for me, you know, I adopted brothers into my family like crazy. Like mom would tell you just how many friends I have. And I mean, she can count them on her hand, but you know, once I've kind of adopted you into that family, you're there for life. You know what I mean?
And you bring up a good point too with parents too. It's like, you know, you have your biological parents, you know.
Yeah.
My father unfortunately has also passed. He's been, this year will be 8 years, man. It's like, can't believe it's been that long already. But like I got a Christmas card during Christmas. Brian asked me for my address and I'm like, okay. I got a Christmas card from his mom. He goes, you know, love your other mom. You know, and I was like, oh, that's nice. And it's like, how many like bonus moms you have? I got like your mom, I've got Amelia's mom, Denise,
Yep.
Like you don't just have like once like with my daughter, she's got an extra set of grandparents and my neighbors that live next door that are just two of the just sweetest, nicest people. And she'll just run across the yard, go over and hug them and say hi. And they're like, "Hey, what's going on, kid?" Like they'll just sit there and chew the, shoot the shit and chew the fat and stuff in the front yard. And I don't worry about it because I'm like, she's next door. I trust them. Whatever. He's also an Army vet. She works at the VA, so it's like, okay, cool, good stuff. So
yeah, no, and then see that's the thing is like because obviously myself and Nilka, I have multiple siblings. We all know this. Myself and Nilka, we came from the same parents. My sister Cynthia and my brother Hector came from my father's first marriage, and then my sister Marina came from my mom's first marriage. So we were kind of, so with I would say
I don't ever. I love you, bro. I mean no disrespect by this, but I don't ever want to draw out your family tree. Bump that noise. Like it's like it's like playing Tetris. I'm like, it don't fit.
Yeah, no, we're definitely you got to check out my 23andMe DNA thing, man. It's freaking
well, that's different. So yeah, I imagine there's some
But-
influence from all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember, dude. I remember your sister giving me the rundown and having to explain the Taino heritage and what that was. I'm like, what is that? And she goes, oh. And she went into like a 5-minute dissertation on this whole thing when I was at your house, and I was just like, huh, okay. Didn't know that was a thing. Cool.
Yep, the Taino Indians.
Sorry, man. Didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue.
No, you're good. So, but yeah, like through the relationship between my sister Cynthia and my brother Hector, I kind of picked up another mom, and it's funny because like I would actually spend sometimes some holidays with Cynthia, and it varied back then. It could be maybe a little bit of Thanksgiving or just Thanksgiving in general with a little bit of with like maybe a Christmas Eve, and I would spend time there with Cynthia Migdalia, she's like my second mom, and my brother Hector, and that's just how it was.
Yeah.
So I kind of picked up a broad family, throughout my life.
That's also true because of how many damn sisters and half sisters you have. You have Marina, Nilka, Cynthia that I know of, and it's just like it is a broad family. Plus your mom, like, there's a lot of women.
There's a lot of women in this part.
It's a broad family. No shit.
And it's funny because like out of me and Nilka. You
guys are like fucking twins, man. I swear to God. Like you get around each other and the same facial features. Obviously, she's not growing, a beard like you, but like it's just like the mannerisms are scary. It's just like
like we found out like we were pointing stuff out like when we were hanging out during the Christmas holiday, of just like little like weird like shit that we do. Like sometimes we stand the same way, or sometimes we do certain little like gestures that are exactly the same, and we're like
idiosyncrasy.
It's like, oh, what is that? Why are we doing the same shit? So like,
yeah.
But in all honesty, though, man, like, the whole tribe family thing, I believe in myself personally, like, blood obviously is thicker than water, obviously that, there's going to be some probably tighter bonds there, but you can have a similar or just as tight a bond with others that you have adopted into your family.
Yes. What I mean? And I'm dude, spot on segue, because that kind of steers us back around to where I was going to go with this. So thank you.
Yeah.
But so like with my older brother, I don't mean to speak ill of the departed, but like there was times, so between my older brother and I, there was about 8 years difference in age. I jokingly, my mom and dad's have told me the story. I've kind of spun it into this sarcastic story of, my brother wanted somebody to play with, and my mom and dad were like, "Sure, give us 9 months, we'll work on that for you." So it's like that kind of explains a lot about me. I'm just here for somebody else's entertainment. And you're like, "Oh, that fits." Yeah, sure. But with again, I don't mean to speak bad about him, but like there was just always kind of like a little bit of a difference of relationship between me and him versus me and my younger brother because we're closer in age. Me and my younger brother, we actually spent a year together in high school. We just kind of had a little bit similar mentalities. My brother was already going off and like living his life when I was still in high school, and he was doing all this grown up shit, whatever. And it just kind of like we bumped heads a little bit from time to time, especially in the last few years, and it's I kind of go down the rabbit hole sometimes and think about it. I'm like, "Ah, I shouldn't have been such a dick, but at the same time, I want to stand up for myself, blah, 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 whatever." Um, and there, like I said, there's times when we weren't always the tightest. And I feel like, with my younger brother, we're a little bit tighter because we spent closer time together, more time at home. But also, like, there's guys that I've deployed with that I'm a hell of a lot tighter to than either one of my biological brothers, because like, so like the whole, let me kind of circle this back around for just a second. Bear with me, folks. I'm going somewhere, I promise. My squirrel brain is not too bad tonight. Um, like you have so kind of imagine somebody that comes, and this is just a generalization. I'm not calling out anybody in particular. This is just kind of like I'm painting a picture here. So bear with me while we beat the devil out of this little brush, like Bob Ross. You have somebody that maybe didn't come from a good home life or coming from a good family, like the comedian Gary Owen, that you see a lot. He kind of talks it because he grew up, with his mom and stuff in Ohio, and they lived in a trailer and all this kind of crazy stuff. Which, and again, not knocking it, but he kind of talks about like, he went and joined the Navy because he's like, hey, I'm gonna do something good and make something out of myself, all this kind of crap. So, kind of along that same vein of kind of context there, you have somebody that maybe didn't come from the best home life or familial situation, so they go and they join the military. And especially like guys, I would say maybe like just right off the get, like boot camp, the strongest one probably being like the Marine Corps, guys that were in the same platoon. When they go to Marine Corps boot camp, like those guys are fucking tight. And then they go to their units in the fleet and all that kind of stuff. And they go over in combat. Like, some of these guys that were over in like, doing kicking doors into the Battle of Fallujah, I got to imagine those guys are super tight and stuff. Or, guys that have been in combat or deployed together. So there's definitely like, just a little bit of a difference in like the contextual idea of relationships. Like I'm very close with my younger brother. Like we still call me. He called me last week for some advice on something, and we had a good talk, and we kind of had a resolution of it. And he's always going to be my brother and stuff, but I also have a different kind of relationship with guys like you and guys like Brian and especially now Robert. Robert, I've kind of really come to understand and get to know him pretty well. And you really don't understand somebody until you've had some kind of shared experience together, whether it's going through the shitty experiences at boot camp. Like, God, you remember doing that 100-yard crawl with the old Vietnam style flak on under the machine gun fire that's 18 inches off the ground? Shit's blowing
sure
up.
do.
There's sand everywhere. You're just like, oh, you're miserable and you hate
What
life.
kills me about that one though, when we were going through, they had actually gotten us the fucking actual vests with the plates. Like they had actually gotten us the vests with the plates. So we had to crawl.
You had IBAs?
We had to crawl with the IBAs, no equipment on it.
Oh, and that ceramic plate's just digging in you. Oh,
and we're just like, and I'm crawling as quickly as I freaking can. Just,
that's gotta suck.
And just having that extra weight on my body while crawling with that shit. Oh my god, it sucked. It did. It
like
sucked.
when you're upright and walking around and moving in and out of a vehicle, that's not so bad. But
No.
going down to the prone or crawling, oh, that's got to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Golly. But is it fair
It
to
sucks.
say, like, that kind of that experience of like the shared suffering or the mutual misery makes people bond together?
Oh yeah, I would agree.
I would
For sure.
imagine the folks that you remember the Miracle on the Hudson?
Why does that sound so familiar?
That's that movie that Tom Hanks did about the pilot. They had twin engine failure taking off from and they landed
Yes.
in the Hudson River. I
Yeah.
gotta imagine like all those people still have to like probably are like kind of connected somehow. Like they all check up on each other and all that kind of junk, because they went
Yeah.
through some pretty traumatic shit and
Well, that was a crazy landing, I think.
it was.
Like, I mean, like, didn't he like? There was like some kind of a maneuver that he did, and they still didn't know like how he pulled it off.
Well, they were if you watch the movie, they say, "Oh, as soon as everything goes down, you could have banked around and made the turn back to Teterboro, New Jersey, and all that stuff." And he was like, "No, you can't because you're not acting like humans. We didn't do anything because we started running the checklist, make sure the APU is going, make sure this is going, this is going. And then from there, we started to figure out, we're not going to make it, not going to make it. I got to put it down in the Hudson." And he was able to get it. He's like, you guys are flying this thing around like we're the Thunderbirds up there. That's not what this is. It's a freaking commuter jet. We had twin engine failure at less than like I forget what the altitude was, but they were low. They were barely over the city. They hit a strike.
Yeah.
They had a bird strike. Both engines crapped out, and they ended up putting it down the Hudson, and they saved everybody on board. And it was like, the training, the expertise of those guys is like Chester Sullenberger was the guy's name. That was the captain's name.
You were gonna say Chesty Puller.
I was gonna say because I saw a clip for the Pacific. And I was
Mm.
watching. It was actually when Chesty Puller was walking by. I was like, "That's not right." But his name was Sullenberger.
Yeah.
I thought the
Yeah.
movie did a pretty good justice and stuff, the way they presented it and all that stuff. But I would imagine, folks going through something that traumatic and stuff, like they didn't know where some of the people got rescued by the ferries and went back to New Jersey. Some of them ended up in New York and all this crazy stuff. But people just came together and they all made it out alive. And I would imagine, they just kind of have become a little bit like of a quasi-familial group just because of what they went through and stuff. So,
And I'm still trying to. That happened when? That was in 2000.
I am going to look right now. Stand by. Keep talking.
Well, no, like I'm trying to think because, like, actually, shit,
Wow.
I just thought about it. Like, what's up? What'd you find?
That actually happened January 15th, 2009. That was like 17 years ago. Yesterday.
Damn.
That's crazy. U.S. Airways Flight 1549.
I was just about to come home from Germany.
They had twin engine failure. 155 people on board were rescued. They had, what altitude were they at? It was low. Let me look here. Altitude of 22,818 feet. They weren't even 3,000 feet up. Double hit a bird strike.
You mean 2,800?
2,800 feet. Just over 2,800 feet. And yeah. So that's crazy. Less than 3,000 feet, and they ended up putting it down, and they saved everybody. So good for them.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, so I know we kind of diverged a little bit into that, but like I said, I have people that I'm not related to that I call brother. And I think sometimes that word gets a little bit overused. But
No.
like I refer to Amelia as my sister. I didn't serve with her. We've just known each other a long freaking time. We were talking about that the other day. You know, I called her and she called me back. We ended up kind of BSing on the phone for a few minutes and stuff. But you know, it's like when you meet somebody for the first time, they're like, "Hey, brother." I'm like, I don't know you. I just met you. We gotta like work together, do something like that. So
No. There's only, and you know what's funny is like, I talk about how I adopted like, brother figures and stuff like that. And I think a lot of it, you know, like there's only one, I think there's only one honest to God individual that I kind of really kind of adopted as like kind of like a father figure. And it's hard to explain, right? Because when it in terms of interaction, I mean there really wasn't that much aside from occasional like like, hey, how's it going, man, this, that, and the other, blah blah blah, during like battalion fucking runs or some other shit like that, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But it was kind of the way he treated everybody in the unit.
What are you talking about?
And it really freaking didn't hit me until I found out about it it was back in 2018. It was my BC. Colonel Coffee himself. He was probably one of the most solid freaking just freaking coolest fucking leaders I think I'd ever come across. And the way he showed how he cared about the men, the way he showed that he gave a damn, and how he freaking conducted everybody. It was kind of the way I would imagine what a dad who actually gave a shit would act like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
feel you on that. Yeah.
So for me, I would say he's probably, outside of my actual father, like the only real father figure I've kind of like pulled in for myself. And though I hate admitting it, he's one of the few freaking people that when he passed from cancer, like, is like, he's one of the few people I've actually really truly boo-hoo cried for.
Yeah.
Because that's how he came off,
Isn't it always a gut punch too when like you realize how special that person was to you? Not necessarily in the moment, but you go back and you look at it and you reflect on things and you're just like, oh yeah, fuck. And now they're gone.
And it hit me again when I heard one of the last speeches he gave right before he passed. And man, was that guy such a great orator. Like, he was just, how he spoke. It was like hearing like some old Americana, like someone that would have been like a writer from that era. You know what I mean? And it was just, hell yes, man.
Like a warrior prophet or some shit.
You could say that, yeah. For sure. But man, Colonel Coffee was like the fucking man.
I had a couple.
I could have seen him. I just wish I could have seen him one more time before,
I had
it is what it is.
Militarily speaking, I had a couple. when I was in Afghanistan, our base commander was a guy by the name of Joe Guerin, Colonel Guerin. And I've mentioned him quite a few times on this show. He was a first sergeant before he commissioned and went as high as he did. So he went from an E8 and then made it all the way up to 06, and I've never heard of that before. But you talk about just a fucking even keel, just could talk to anybody, generals, privates, fucking bunch of junior enlisted dudes. Like those guys had, because they were all artillery guys from the Tennessee Guard. So the one table in the very back of the DFAC had a red freaking tablecloth on it because they're all artillery guys. Nobody sat. None of the security forces dudes sat there. All of us infantry guys, we did not sit there. And like just the way he talked to you, like it made me feel. I was a young kid, man. I was 21 in Afghanistan. I turned 21 in Afghanistan, so I'm wet behind the ears in some respects. But just he talked to you like you were a fucking grown up. Like shit was just like, okay, this is big boy rules. It was respect that was given, and he gave it to you as long as you didn't cause him to take that away and all that kind of shit. So like he's sitting there and there's a bunch of staff officers, majors and lieutenant colonels and him. They're all sitting there and goes, all right, guys, we'll pick this up later. And he got it from the table and I'm sitting by myself. He just came over, sat with me. He's like, hey, Mac. I'm like, morning, sir. I'm like, how you doing? We just took up a conversation. I couldn't fucking remember what the hell we talked about, but we were just talking like two guys that just had known each other for a long time, just shooting the shit. And it just made such an impression on me. I'm like, dude, I'm an E4. Like, I'm really not anybody special. No disrespect, not trying to cut myself down or anything, but I'm like, I'm just a fucking, Private Joe Snuffy almost. Like, I'm just a dude playing a dude who thinks he's another dude kind of shit. And he just comes over and just starts talking to me. And just, we had lunch together and he said, thanks for your time. I'm like, no, sir, thank you. And we shook hands and he went about his day. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. The other one I will say, and we've talked about him quite a bit, and we've had him on the show, was War Daddy.
Yep.
That was my first time being away from
War
my dad.
Daddy Withers.
It was my first time being away from my dad. And I don't think he didn't really, he don't think he really meant to, but he just kind of assumed that role in some way because he was my squad leader. And he just, he took care of you like what you'd expect from somebody who's a professional in the military.
Yeah.
Make sure you got all your shit. Make sure everything's squared away. Make sure no one else is going to play fuck games, all that bullshit, all that kind of stuff. And like, it was a real bummer when he wasn't able to deploy and stuff. And, I ended up going with another guy and it was nothing against the other guy. He was a good leader, but it just wasn't him. It was a different style. And somebody else ended up kissing his ass real bad. And it's just like, whatever. It was just kind of, it was a different thing, man. It would have been a different deployment if War Daddy went with us. But everything happens for a reason. So, but yeah, I get you, man. Like you get those father figures or like big brothers, like Brian. Brian's like my big brother, man. Like we just get together and we go for car rides and just bullshit and just talk. And like he called me earlier, he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, doing a podcast. And he goes, oh, we're about to get down some Uno. I was gonna invite you over. I'm like, nah, I don't know. Uno can end some friendships on that shit, dude.
Uno can end friendships.
Monopoly will break up a family. Like, fuck this game, I quit. You win, Grandma. Where'd you get that pink 50s, huh? You freaking cheating whore. Dane Cook joke. Oh, it's so good. So I don't really have.
Dane Cook was actually funny.
Yeah, and not controversial.
Also that too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny how people get shunned all of a sudden. It's like, ooh, he married somebody like half his age. Yeah, we're good. He did the Woody Allen thing.
Yeah.
Yo no sé nada.
Woody kept doing way worse.
Well, that's true.
He went way lower.
We're gonna leave that alone. So, I really don't have anything else to add to the conversation. Did you want to say anything else before we sign off?
Yeah. Freaking God rest your Colonel Coffee. See you when I get to see you again, sir. So,
You
yeah,
said cancer?
it was cancer. Yeah. Same thing happened to my first sergeant. That was another one. First Sergeant Bowman. So,
Do you still talk to that platoon leader you had? The one that was
a
the
Mustang.
the West Pointer who was a
The West
ranger?
Pointer.
Yeah.
Oh, the West Pointer. The West Pointer was that was LT Willis. The
He's the one that sit there eating like the crackers, stuff like
that he
little
was eating
like
the
a ferret.
crackers and stuff.
It's sitting in the truckers.
um,
He seemed like a good dude, man. I'd love to
he was he's cool as hell. I have him on my Facebook. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but yeah, every once in a while I'll get like messages and stuff from him. I can actually, now that I think about it, I do got to message him.
Well, I guess that's that. So we'll start wrapping this up. So that's our conversation on
sir.
family. Hopefully, it gave you just some food for thought. We kind of wanted to just have we had such a good time, good vibe with the tribe on the camping trip that we were like, this would be a good topic to cover. So, everyone says family all the time. Oh, your family. But they really don't dive into what that means and what that looks like. So we kind of figured we'd talk about it. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We're going to start signing off now. So if you've stumbled upon our show and found us for the first time, or you're somewhat new to the show, hopefully you like what you heard. Thanks for stopping by. If you have been here before and you are a continued listener or consumer, glad you keep coming back. That means we're hopefully doing something right. It's funny. I get asked all the time by my daughter, how many followers do you guys have? I'm like, I don't know. That's not a metric that I follow. I said, ask this guy. He's the guy that follows all of that shit. So, so Alamo and I, we've been friends since high school, like we mentioned earlier. Kind of went our own ways, ended up doing the military in different ways. I joined the Guard. He went active duty, both post 9/11, all that kind of good stuff. So, ended up working together for a while. We had a good friend of ours named John that we worked with, and John was, if you know John, if you were to know John, you just look and think about John and go, yeah. He's just one of those guys you just giggle thinking about. John was a great guy to work with. He was a funny fucker. Made work fun, I'm surprised we didn't get into more goddamn trouble. Like seriously, like just the dumb shit that we would do at work. But those are the memories I think back to and go, God damn, like we were in the prime of our lives, just having it was such a great job. It wasn't a hard job. It was great. And like
No.
it was fantastic. We had good guys that worked there, all the different personalities that came through there, the customers. It was great. It was a fun time. We all kind of went our own ways. And then I got approached by Alamo's wife a while back, several years at this point, to work an event for her channel. Real quick, shout out to Flipside Mentorship. They have wonderful things going on over there. Tisha is doing amazing things, and it's just awesome. It's you just got to go check it out. Okay, they're mentoring kids. They're helping to get fellowship out and whatnot. It's just awesome. So check out flipsidementorship.com. See what they're doing over there. It's phenomenal. We partner with them once a year for an event called Battle Buddies, where we talk to little kids about military service and different things along those lines, just mentorship in different ways. So it's a cool thing. But she approached me about working an event as I don't even know how the hell you say it, like just somebody that was there to help out and whatnot, and just kind of help lead a group of kids and a mentor, so to speak. And Alamo and I did it, and we had a blast. We were just back to our usual antics. And you approached me, you're like, dude, we got to get the band back together. I'm like, yeah, we should. That's awesome. So we started talking about it, and you brought up the idea of a podcast, and I was like, dude, I don't know shit about a podcast. And you're just like, bro, you put a monkey in outer space. How fucking hard can it be? I'm like, I like your kind of logic. So there you go. So we kind of talked about it and chewed about it and whatnot. during this, I found out from somebody online that John had apparently passed due to suicide, and it was awful. Obviously, it's really bad, but it's worse when it's somebody you know. So I reached out to Alamo here and I said, "Hey man, did you hear about John?" And he was like, "No, I got to reach out to him. His birthday's coming up." And I was like, "You can't because he's gone." So for me, that was my aha moment. I was like, "Dude, this podcast you're talking about, like, I'm in." So we kind of started talking about what the message would be, all this kind of stuff, the image and the identity and the brand, so to speak. Um, and in the process, we came up with the Bros Code. What the Bros Code is 4 easy things you can do. Just remember, like, when things get hard, things get tough, like, you can keep yourself in the fight. Don't take that way out. Don't try to solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution that you can't take back. So if you can remember the letters BROS, you're going to be good. We're going to go over that with you real quick. So be tenacious. No matter what happens in life, okay, do it to the fullest and utmost of your ability. Whether it's being a mentor for somebody, whether it's being, a confidant, a counselor, um, whatever your job title would be, whatever you choose to associate yourself as or identify as in life, whatever whatever title or throne you claim, do it with tenacity, do it to that most of your ability. Go out there and give 100% every single day as best you can. In the words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass 2 things, whole ass 1 thing. Be tenacious. R, refuse surrender. Throughout the journey in life, you're going to have things that happen that, get you confused and off task, and you're going to feel defeated. That's all right. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, dig out your compass, reshoot your azimuth, get your bearings, and move out. Don't ever let it keep you down. Refuse surrender. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Kind of going along with R, like we were talking about, those obstacles that happen in life, don't let them defeat you, no matter what happens. Sometimes you gotta, go down by the river and, kind of skirt the river down for a quarter mile so you can get past some kind of a barrier. And
Not in a van down by the river. Just go down by the river.
oh, that's good. That's good. I like that. Just son of a bitch. Unless you want to go live in a van down by the river, then that's okay. You can do that too. Because hey, van life is actually a thing nowadays. So I'm sure he'd be happy to see that. But back on track. As I was saying, with those obstacles, do what you can to defeat them. Okay. Sometimes you got to go down to the river, cross a linear danger area, whatever you got to do. Okay. Sometimes you got to go over a wall, around it, dig under it. Sometimes you got to blow a hole in it. Sometimes you got to drive an armored vehicle through it. Whatever. It's all good. Whatever you got to do. O, obliterate your obstacles. S, seek help in a time of need. As we mentioned with our friend John, I really wish he would have, seeked out help, sought help when he needed it, and he would still be here. And if him still being here meant we didn't have to do this show, or we weren't doing this show for this reason, I'd be okay with that. Because John was a guy that was worth knowing. He really would have given you the shirt off his back. He was just a kind soul, funny, always had a good story, loved to laugh. That goofy chuckle of his, just think about it, just fucking just takes me right back to working with him. But don't be afraid to go through things. Okay, you don't have to go through things alone. Okay, don't be afraid to reach out and seek out help from somebody. As veterans of the military, and I'm sure folks like in the first responder communities, law enforcement and EMS and fire and all that kind of stuff, we have a very close-knit group of people that understand what we go through. If you have people like that in your life, feel free to reach out to them. Okay, who better to understand what you're going through than somebody who can relate to it or empathize with you?
Mm-hmm.
In the event that you don't have something like that, there's people around you. There's friends, there's loved ones, there's, coworkers, somebody that you feel safe talking to about certain things. It's not going to get all weirded out and get all, you know, up in arms and shit. Reach out to them, okay? If for some reason you don't have anybody, there are options out there, okay? If you feel like you are going to go down a bad path or may potentially harm yourself, stop. Don't do that and reach out. There are some phone numbers that you can get a hold of somebody. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can contact them in several different ways. You can either dial 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. The last four digits spell TALK, TALK. You can dial the 3-digit prefix 988, or you can also text them at 838-255. Again, that's 838255. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once you get a hold of them, you select, for the phone numbers, you select option 1, just to speak to a live person on the other line. They'll get you some help you need in your moment of crisis. Okay. At one point, the average rate of veteran suicide was 22 per day. And that is something that Alamo and I, with this podcast, are trying to combat and eventually eliminate. It is an uphill battle. There are a lot of resources out there, but for some reason, a lot of folks still feel like they have to go through things alone. Don't. We are social creatures by design. We should have our family, our tribe around us to help us through these tough times. So, if you don't have that, maybe figure out a way to find that for yourself or for another person. Okay. So if you can remember those 4 things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, it's going to give you a good chance of making it through the day and on to the next day, and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's all I've got. I'm going to hand it off to my co-host here. He's going to finish wrapping this up, and then we're going to get out of here for this week. So take it away.
If you like the social medias,
let me show off my guns. My freaking triceps, Mercy.
If you want to,
that's not fair. You were sitting. Okay, hold on a second. You were sitting here like a kettlebell, just doing like kettlebell pumps and stuff. I'm like, he's getting a pump on right for the show, so he looks all vascular and shit. This fucker. Seriously?
Freaking
2 layers of stuff because it's chilly in this side of the house. You're over here just like, get my fucking pump on. Yeah. So,
damn right. Freaking
keep going, chucklehead.
If you would like to catch up with us on social media, there's quite a few places that you could do that with us. One of them being the Facebook.
Ooh, careful.
Where you could go to facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. Also in the metaverse, you could check us out at Instagram, where you could check us out at battlebros_podcast. And hell, if you even like their competitor, which is the Muskverse, you could go over to the X, and you can find us at BattleBrosPC. All of these platforms, you can go ahead and you can use the messaging service and go ahead and send us an instant message, where we would be getting back to you pretty much as soon as we see the messages. We get back to you pretty quick. If you got feedback, you like the episodes, don't like the episodes, have input on what topics you'd like to hear about, definitely drop them over there. And also drop them down in the comment section down below, because we like seeing that kind of stuff. If you like catching us on other platforms, we are on Spotify, we are on Google Podcasts, we are on iHeartRadio, and a myriad of different other platforms. Probably our most popular one being the Spotify, aside from the YouTube. All I got to say is definitely give us a shout out. And also, if you'd like to private message us, maybe you got a family member that you're a little bit, worried about, or you want to, message us and say, hey, you guys did a really good job on that last episode. Thanks. We appreciate it. You could always do that at our Gmail, which is the battlebrospc@gmail.com. That is battlebrospc@gmail.com. And we're always going to be able to message you back and, respond to the feedback because we like feedback.
It helps us grow.
It helps us grow. I'm going to end it with one last little piece of input. Honestly, I mean, the reason, a big part of the reason why we did this part is because, the families we make, and the families we grow up with are, equally as important. And it's important to highlight those families, whether it be, friends we grew up with or friends we made in the military or just the little turds that tend to run in the background and you hear them yelling and screaming. Your the families you keep are very important, and that is why we wanted to cover this episode today. So, beyond that, I've got nothing else. I say good night, good day. See you guys next week, and I'll leave the rest to you.
Cool, man. So I'm also going to double tap on that. Not that I'm not one for making New Year's resolutions because I seem like I always fall short and fall flat on my ass and face with them. But maybe for this year we try to get in better touch with our families, both near and far, blood and other, and just try
Yep.
to strengthen those bonds, maybe reestablish and reconnect to some of those who have maybe fallen by the wayside a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Like Alamo said, family is important, whether it's one that you were born with or one you were, accepted into. So, food for thought, folks. Just kind of think about that. But again, this has been episode 120, entitled "Family" of the Battle Bros podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for our conversation tonight. Hopefully, you took something from it. Hope everyone is having a good New Year so far. Please don't be afraid to reach out if you need something. And remember, always be tenacious, refuse surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can do those 4 things, you have a better chance of making it through the day and on to the next, Don't feel like you have to go through things alone. Reach out to your family. Okay. This has been the Battle Bros podcast. Again, my name is Mac. This is my best friend and brother, Alamo. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you folks next time.
Battle Bros out.